everyone, welcome back to another week of Sustainable Talks with Maria J. Today's video is definitely going to be something quite different to what I usually talk about. I hope it turns out well because I haven't done this kind of formatting before, but I've got nothing better to do at the moment, so might as well try and learn something new. So today's topic is going to be a little bit different. Today's going to be quite theoretical but also somewhat factual. It's me diving into economics in terms of our current situation and the impacts that COVID-19 is going to have on all of us individually, within our local communities, within our states, and as a country as a whole, as well as internationally. I think to say that 2020 has started off with a bang is a bit of an underestimate. It's definitely been quite a crappy year so far, and we're only just in April now, 4 months in, and everything that could have gone bad has gone bad. So first there were fires, then there were the floods, and now there's COVID-19. Back in February, Roy Morgan conducted a survey based upon businesses that were affected by bushfires, and what they found was about 28% of businesses were affected by the bushfires, and now additionally another 15% of businesses are also affected by COVID-19. 15% doesn't sound a lot, but it's a lot, and as you can tell already, there's a lot of impacts that's had flow-on effects throughout our community. COVID-19 initially started back in January or so. 4 months in, it's already affected 190 countries that are reporting infections, and it's literally a downward spiral now. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a bit about the economic impacts it's happening, and just have a bit of a chit chat, let you guys know, I guess understand what is happening, and in that sense you can prepare yourself with some knowledge and start thinking about what you guys want to do or how you guys are going to cope with the next coming months. It's estimated in Australia that about 1 million jobs will be lost as a result of COVID-19, resulting in a jump from 5.1% unemployment up to 15% unemployment. So already there's about 700,000 individuals accessing and receiving unemployment benefits. An additional estimated 1 million people will join. According to PwC modelling, it is estimated that over this year, Australia's GDP will drop by $34.2 billion, which is a contraction of 1.32%. So 1.32% doesn't seem like a lot. I mean, when you're talking about billions of dollars, it is a lot. It is a lot, and we are all feeling this right now. But according to their modeling, it isn't a large amount compared to the GFC GDP, which was back in 2009, and that contracted by about 5.2%. As you can see in this chart, Australia's loss of GDP is about 22, I don't even know, that's such a big number. 22,000 million is about 22.5 million US dollars in comparison to nations like Latin America, the US, and China. These numbers aren't so
when it comes
big.
to the economic
I guess
impacts,
it's a little bit reassuring that we're gonna do a lot better than other countries, but that doesn't mean that we're not gonna feel, I guess, constraints, and we are probably most likely heading towards a recession, as is the rest of the globe, but maybe it won't be as bad in Australia as compared to other nations. Further research has shown estimated loss of consumption is going to be about $37.9 million over this year. So if we put this into an economic chart, I'm going to show you now what the flow-on effects from this loss of consumption will result in. Let's head to the whiteboard. Hi everyone, welcome to Economics 101 with Maria J. Today we're going to be talking about economic impacts of COVID-19. Keep in mind this is based on theoretical flow of the economy, based on current theories that we use to explain how the world works in our capitalist system. PwC has estimated a loss of consumption at $37.9 million over this year for 2020. So what I'm going to do with this number is basically put this into a flowchart to show you guys the trickle-down effects that's going to have on our economy and potentially your lives if you haven't already felt it, which I highly doubt it. Less consumption means you can purchase less because you have possibly less money, or you're just not interested in buying things at the moment because you're a bit more frugal with your money because you're quite uncertain about how the economy and how things in life are going. I'm just going to be using abbreviations here that are generally used in economics. I'm going to start off with the basic household flow chart. On one end you have households, and on the other end you have firms, aka businesses. Households provide resources to firms, and then firms provide outputs or products to households. Oh, I can't spell outputs. Which is basically the stuff that you buy in the shops. Firms will also provide income to households, while households will essentially consume the products that firms make. Does that make sense? When you have loss of consumption, it generally means firms make less output, which is here, which also results in less income. If you have less income, you're less willing to consume. Less outputs obviously means firms are making less products. So as a result, the need of resources also decrease. And this includes labor. Now we have reduced expenditure, which results in lower business activity, resulting in lower incomes. And we've pretty much already seen this within our communities as a result of coronavirus. Coronavirus has also seen us implement social distancing rules, which has also resulted in underemployment. So basically, I guess a lot of firms have introduced rules in regards to how many people in a certain space at any time. As a result, individuals are seeing less shifts. For example, for me, instead of working 5 days a week, I am now working 4 days a week. I have also been forced to work from home, so that way there's less people at the office, so we can ensure that people are following the social distancing rule. So underemployment means when you want to work but you can't work because you're not getting enough shifts. So we have seen an increase, of underemployment. Generally, if there's less resources, so less labor, we will see less products. So you have less supply of products on the market. If we have a look at the supply curve, say this is quantity and this is price. When things are in high quantity, they're generally cheaper. So for example, this point here is 50. It might only be about $5. However, if you have lower supply, say there's only 10 here, it might end up equaling $50. So that's generally the case that we're seeing at the moment with some products due to panic buying. So as a result of lower supplies, the price of products can increase, which then results in price hikes. So theoretically, it's because these products are less accessible, they seem a bit more scarce, and as a result, people are willing to spend more money on the same product. So for example, you have hand sanitizers, which are now seen as an essential product to fight COVID. And obviously people have been buying it out, so there's less products available. And as a result, you're seeing the price of hand sanitizer go up, which essentially also contributes to a bit of a chaotic situation in our current economy. You would also fit in a demand curve here if you wish. So this is the demand for products. So that's the situation at the moment just between households and firms. The next segment that will come into play here will be the finance sector. Cool. So what you have next is then banks and financial institutions in here. And coming out from households going into banks, you have savings, and coming out of banks into firms, you then have investments. However, at the moment, because business production is down, they would want less investments because they don't have any intention of expanding businesses and whatnot. And as a result, there's less firms taking loans out from banks due to the current economic uncertainty. As that being said, because firm output is currently low, resulting in lower income, you then also have decreased savings. So for example, I might have been earning $1,000 per week, and then I have expenses plus leisure expenditure, and then I might have savings. However, if my wage was to drop and my hours were to be cut, and ended up getting like $600 per week, this might just be enough to cover my expenses and my leisure, but not my savings. So as a result, the banks are then receiving less inflow, and they have a smaller pool of money which they can then loan out to the firms again. So again, it's fueling this downward economic cycle. As a result, I suppose because of coronavirus, a lot of firms have had to shut up shop, and a lot of businesses are not necessarily taking out loans to expand, but possibly now taking out loans to survive and to maintain their costs because they don't have their general income from customers. So this is definitely seen within like the tourist industries, with there being less tourists. They've had to lay off workers within the sectors. The banks are in trouble now, the businesses are in trouble, as well as the households. So this is now where the government has to step in. So now we have our government here. Again, inflow and your outflow. Inflow is taxation. Outflow is government expenditure. According to PwC, from 2020 to 2021, there is an expected drop of $25.8 billion in tax revenue. That means the government's actually getting less inflow to then spend. Government expenditure generally covers fiscal policies, so like road buildings, construction buildings, welfare payments, and all those kind of stuff. Now the government has to inject stimulus to help stimulate the economy and save the businesses and the banks. And so far, a stimulus package of $320 billion has been announced. This stimulus package is targeting a variety of sectors within the economy. So at the household level, we do have job seekers. It's about $1,500 per fortnight. We've also got individual support of $550 per fortnight on top of existing welfare payments, as well as early access to super. This information I've just gotten off the government website, which I will link down below. At the business level, so for firms, there's a key focus point to maintain cash flow. So basically making sure that these businesses here have access to money and loans to keep their businesses viable. And I guess they've become a bit more lenient with declaring bankruptcy. So, because all these businesses are in the same boat, like we can't have all our businesses declare bankruptcy. So they're being a bit more lenient with that now. RBA, which is the Reserve Bank of Australia, has cut interest rates to 0.25%, which means the banks can loan money from the government for 0.25%, and they can pass this interest rate cut onto firms who would then need to loan further money to keep themselves viable. And all of this information is available on the government website for you guys to do your own research if you so wish to, or if you're interested in, because this stimulus package I think can help a bit of everyone out. You just need to know where you're viable. Like, that's your immediate bubble and what's going on within like your workplace, within your household. Banks take it to your community level, so what's going on with your shops and cafes and all that stuff. The government then takes this situation out to a state and federal level. So these are all the impacts that COVID's having on Australia right now. Obviously, you've seen a lot of businesses have to shut up shop, and a lot of people have now joined the queues at Centrelink to get the job seeker payments. Now we're just going to have a look at the impacts on an international scale. Looking at things internationally, your inflows here would be products that are imported into Australia, and your outflow here will be products that are exported out of Australia. So I guess one of the key issues at the moment is because of COVID, there's been quite a lot of impact on trade at an international level, and the repercussions are quite huge. Just as the coronavirus has a multiplier effect on humans, so does it on the economy. So as we know, firms have decreased domestically in terms of productivity. So firms have decreased productivity, and as a result there's less income for households, and as a result there's also less consumption. This also includes imported products, so as a result there's less demand for imports. I guess in a time like this, people are becoming more frugal with what they're spending things on. So I know I have been like this. I only spend my money now on groceries and the household essentials. I haven't done much retail shopping whatsoever. So you could see like a lot of businesses starting to import less clothing, less bric-a-brac items like novelty items and all that kind of stuff, less fun stuff, I suppose, and all of that. At the same time, it's also definitely impacted our exports because other countries don't necessarily want to import our goods because of coronavirus. So as a result, we have also seen, I suppose, less imports and also less exports going out. A big issue here is China. China is a large importer of Australian products, and so it can be expected for a decline in Australian exports as a result of consumption decreasing in China, thus exacerbating the domestic condition. However, I believe we largely rely on raw goods such as minerals and agriculture, which is beneficial because I think there's a bit of a less need for processed goods in one aspect, because people need food, people need wheat, people need cotton and all that kind of stuff. However, a shortfall within our industry has been manufacturing. So when it comes to the economic impacts of COVID-19 on an international scale, we have multiple countries who have been in lockdown now. The economic outcomes that I've discussed so far about businesses closing, income decreasing, households spending less while also saving less, and therefore banks have a smaller pool of money to loan out to these businesses who are suffering. These kind of economic fallouts are happening across in every single country, and as a result, all countries are a bit more frugal with how they spend their money and how I guess everyone wants to just look after their own economy in that sense, but at the same time, we can't lose track of the global economy. A key thing to consider for Australia anyway is China. China is one of Australia's largest importers of Australian goods. So, given the current situation with China in lockdown, a lot of households over there are also consuming less due to lockdown restrictions. We can expect a decrease in Australian exports to not only China but also other countries that would usually buy our stuff. But in a sense, I think because Australians' exports are generally raw resources or natural resources, we're a bit more better off. However, when it comes to manufactured products, Australia's not doing so well. So we have had to, rely mostly on imports for manufactured products because, as we all know, a lot of goods are made in China. So, when you go to your shelves, not only because of panic buying, but also because of a reduction in overseas production, we have seen a lower supply of certain goods in the Australian markets. So, for example, hygiene products, masks, and all the other stuff that doctors and nurses need to use, we're currently running low on them because Australia doesn't necessarily manufacture a lot of that. within our borders, especially to deal with the increased demand that we have had now recently. So in that sense, we have had our domestic producers reallocate their resources and change the production of their products to meet domestic demands, resulting in a few innovative business procedures. So you might have heard on the news that we do have a few distilleries that used to make gin predominantly and now switching over to help make hand sanitizing products. You know, in Australia we are facing shortages of masks to prevent the spread of COVID-19, so a few manufacturers that dabble in the world of textiles have now also transitioned and created a business line to produce face masks to help overcome that shortfall in supply. So I think, generally speaking, COVID-19 is going to have a lot of impacts upon our current way of lives, which you guys would have definitely already experienced. So, you know, a lot of businesses that are considered non-essential services have had to shut shop. And of course, without working, we don't get money. Without money, we can't pay our bills, we can't pay our rent, we can't buy our groceries. So it's essentially a downward spiral, economically speaking, and then also in terms of our standard of living. So a lot of families and a lot of households are now beginning to struggle. I think it's really important to be aware of the situation and then be aware of how the economic system works. So yes, it's a scary time right now, but the government is trying to stimulate the economy and is trying to help us stay afloat with this stimulus package. However, because it's the whole nation that is suffering through this, there are people who are going to fall through the gaps. I think it's really important to just keep an eye out for your mates, keep an eye out for your friends and families, and just make sure everyone is doing okay. Yeah, so I think with this video, I just wanted to go through a bit more of the economic theory related side of things with a few facts and stats chucked in there just for your own knowledge. But I do want to do a bit more of a casual chit chat video about the impacts of COVID-19 upon everyone, because I think coming out of this, things aren't going to go back to business as usual. People will continue doing some things as business as usual, but the businesses themselves will have to change and will have realized through this time that, you know, they have to, I don't know, become more self-sufficient, become more reliable upon things, and I guess always have a bit of a backup plan when economic crises do occur. I mean, this is unavoidable and it's unprecedented for our generations, but I think it's a good learning curve for everybody. I guess like a lot of older generations are like, oh, these millennials are so lucky, they haven't had to go through hardships and whatnot. But you know what, we're going through it now, and I think if anything, it's going to make a lot of people come out stronger and better and much more well informed and much more humane, I suppose. However, I guess not everyone will come out of this as a better person. Some might choose to remain ignorant, but we'll see how it turns out. That being said, we're in this for the long haul, so it's really important for you guys to start thinking about, okay, what are you guys going to be doing for the coming weeks ahead, coming months ahead? And you know, obviously staying indoors all the time, not being able to see your friends as you usually would, is definitely going to have a mental effect on yourselves. So it's really important to just check in with yourself, check in with your mates, and you know, just be aware of how you're feeling throughout this time and acknowledge it. Don't ignore it, because it can also lead potentially to a downward spiral mentally, socially, and all that stuff. So, you know, when it comes to sustainability, I know today's topic was a bit more economic, but the economy, the planet, and the people are the three pillars for sustainability. So today I just covered one aspect, and hopefully in upcoming videos I'll cover other aspects. Yeah, and I guess also just importantly, stay off social media for your information when it comes to COVID-19. Go to reliable resources. Don't read the stuff you find on Facebook or, you know, WeChat University. Yeah, so if you like this video, or if there's things in this video that you would like further explanation upon, or if you found this video a bit too confusing, please do let me know. in the comments down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you guys can stay up to date with everything else. Yeah, and that's all for me. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Lily, say hi up here, up here, up here.